everyone. It's Dr. K writing under oath. How are you? I've missed you. I've become obsessed with a television show called I Shouldn't Be Alive, or ISBA for short, as they call it. It's a show on Animal Planet, and it deals with reenactments of people who have been in life or death survival situations where they had to make decisions about how they were going to save themselves. Now, it seems to me, after watching a series of them, that in many there's an element of coincidence. So I decided to examine this meaning of coincidence, the etymology of it. What mainly interests me about these shows is the narrative story, how it's reenacted. I think the reenactments are quite good. The actual people to whom these survival instances happened are interviewed, and they narrate part of the show. So there's a string of narration through the hour-long episodes that holds it all together. And this is interspersed with reenactment. So in narrative structure, it's what's called back and forth, flashbacks, I call them switchbacks, where one string of the story runs. You could remove that from it, it'll run by itself, and then you could remove the second string. But in this instance, they're intertwined, and each story supports the other like the weave in a fabric. There are several episodes that especially interest me. One is called Dive into Danger. Skydivers in a plane in Australia are going up to do a dive, and the plane hits turbulence, and again, pilot error. There's error in so many of these scenarios. The plane begins to crash. It's heading toward ground, ocean, and the skydivers jump. I think there's 3 of them plus the pilot. On the descent with the parachute, one of the divers recognizes that another one of the divers is in his chute. It's opened up, but he doesn't seem to be conscious. Anyway, this diver hits the water, and he watches the plane go down and hit the water and sink, and he realizes that he's alone. He shouts, tries to find the other divers, but they're nowhere to be seen. And he is alone in the ocean. He's a speck in the ocean. The camera continually pans out, and you see this huge panorama of ocean with the little speck of person in the middle. He has to survive. The element of coincidence that occurs several days into his nightmare is that a log floats by. Now, up until this point, he sustained himself on treading water. The log floats by, he lays himself on it, he's able to sleep, and he drifts that way for quite a while until he spots land and has to give up the log so he can swim towards land. The coincidence of this log is astounding. There's another one, a guy crashes on a four-wheeler in the wilderness, and it lands on top of him, and he's trapped. Several days into his ordeal, there's a hiker several miles away who comes to a fork and does not always take one of the forks. He usually sticks to the other, and on that day, he's struck with the idea of taking a fork that he never took before, and it leads him to the man trapped under the four-wheeler. There's another one called Shattered on Impact. A bunch of guys, professors, biologists are in a plane. They're flying into the Zambian jungle to study wildlife. Their plane crashes. 3 of them are immobilized by injuries, and one of them has a severe back injury, but he manages to climb up on a ridge, and he spreads his foil blanket out on the ground, not having reasoned any particular place for it, but it's this foil blanket that saves their lives when it's spotted by a pilot. Again, coincidence, not based on any rational decision or thoroughly thought out rational decision, maybe a rational decision by instinct. There's another one called Date from Hell, in which the couple are lost in the California mountains, and they come upon a backpack, and inside the backpack there are matches, and they come upon this backpack a year to the date, to the day that the man who had it died because he couldn't find his way out. The matches just happened to be dry. They set a portion of the wilderness foliage on fire, and they're spotted by their rescue plane and saved. They might not have been if they hadn't set the fire, and certainly if they hadn't have found the matches. An exact year to the day of losing, of the man dying. These are incredible coincidences. What is the meaning of the word coincidence? The etymology is from 1605, and what it means, literally, is from the French. It means exact correspondence. A concurrence of events with no apparent connections. Exact correspondence, but with no apparent connection. Now, if you remember the correspondence theory of truth, where an object in the world must directly correspond to the abstract description, otherwise, it's not truth, it's a lie. You can't build a building unless it exactly corresponds to the blueprint of the building. If you try, it'll fall down. It's the same with a story. The narrative description must exactly match the external event or object in order to recreate it and to be thoroughly accurate and ultimately true. So here you have a coincidence with two unrelated events that are 100% true and accurate, but they have nothing to do with each other, and they just happen to coincide. There is a narrative structure for that. It's called montage, collage, segments, where you throw together a bunch of stories under an umbrella of a theme. And they're all mixed up under there because there's so many stories under this theme, and the only thing that holds them together is the theme. So here you have a story of boaters going up a river who just happened to spot a hiker lost in the wilderness. Two true stories that just happened to coincide. Thanks for listening. Dr. K, Writing Under Oath.